friends, welcome back to Call Me After Coffee. If you're new here, welcome. If you've been around for a while, thanks for coming back. Today I'm going to be doing my December and January wrap up. I'm going to do my December at the end just in case anybody doesn't care about Christmassy themed books. I have already filmed this video once today, and by filmed I mean tried to film, camera wasn't on, life ruined. So we're gonna do this again, and hopefully it goes just as well the second time, because I was really excited about how it turned out, but you know, there is nothing there. The first book that I read this year was Scythe. This was a great way to start the year. I am so excited. This was a 5-star read. I had so much fun with this. I loved following Citra and Rowan and Faraday and Curie, and I loved that the villain was so despicable. You kind of get to find out what's going on inside of his head because there's different like diary entries between different sides and the Thunderhead, and you get to learn like their inner thoughts, which is really interesting because you really get to know the villain and how horrible he is. He reminds me of someone who would totally take advantage of the Purge. He's just so terrible, but like so good at being terrible. He's just horrendous. He does extremely despicable things. If you don't know what Scythe is about, it's sort of this sci-fi dystopian society where death and disease have been eradicated and people can be revived. Nobody dies of natural causes. And it's sort of ruled between the Scythedom and the Thunderhead, and they help to kind of keep the balance of the population. I'm not going to go in too in-depth with this because I don't want to spoil anything. I will have a book talk coming. I've filmed it. I haven't edited it yet. It will be up soon, hopefully. But we follow Citra and Rowan, and they are Scythe apprentices, and we kind of follow their journey through this story. It's incredibly captivating. I couldn't put this down. I read it so ridiculously fast. This was supposed to be a buddy read with my friend Kirsty, and I'm a terrible friend, and I ended up finishing it before she even got a chance to start it because I literally just couldn't put it down. It was so good, and I loved every minute of it, and then it left off on a great cliffhanger. And then I decided to switch it up a bit and grab Green Glass House. This is actually a recommendation from Liv from Liv's Library. I adored this book. In this story, we follow Milo, who lives in the Green Glass House, and that's essentially like an inn where smugglers stay, and so their family knows these guys really well. The mom's dad owned the house before they did. It's seemingly haunted. It's a really, really cute story. I loved Milo. I loved Medi. I loved watching their story unfold. There's a part at the end where if I had been like 12 or 13, it probably would have actually given me the creeps, and I thought that that scene was really great. I had so much fun with this book. Milo is also adopted, so it's an interesting little aspect. It's not like the whole book is centered around this one thing, but there are a lot of times that he questions certain things. This book was super fun. I loved the characters. This was kind of, it felt a little bit like an Agatha Christie middle grade with less murder, but it was incredibly fun. The story was neat. It was well written. The characters were deep. Like the kids, they were written very intelligent. They questioned things. They had a really great thought process. I really, really thoroughly enjoyed this, and I loved Milo, and I loved Medi and the parents, and it was endearing and fun and a little bit creepy, and there was a mystery, and it was great. And I think that if I was a kid, I would have absolutely adored this, but even as an adult, I thought it was great, and I would love to read more books by her. I don't think they're technically a series, like they don't go in order, but they're all based around the same area, and I assume similar characters. I'm not quite sure, but there are more books like companions to this that I would love to get to at some point. And then the third book that I read this month was Thunderhead, and oh my goodness, it was so good. I tried to read the last more than half in one day. I tried to read 300 pages in a day. I made it to like 225, which is pretty good for me. Also, if you notice that I have an eye twitch at all, it's not really happening right now, but I've had an eye twitch for like a week. I loved Thunderhead. I couldn't put it down. I'm not gonna mention who we're following because I feel like that's incredibly spoilery. It would really give away all of the suspense from the first book, but I loved Thunderhead. I loved the ending especially. The ending was just like it was so good. It was so thrilling and epic, and so many things went down, and it makes me really, really excited for the next book and to see who we're gonna follow and how far in the future it's set, yada, yada, yada. if there's a jump. I don't know if there's gonna be a jump or not. I have no idea. I'm just really excited to see how this story wraps up and what they're gonna do with it. And then I'm gonna quickly jump into the December reads. And the first book that I'm gonna talk about, I'm gonna put up next to me because I'll forget it if I don't. It was the Little Women Puffin and Bloom edition, that really pretty edition that I have absolutely plagued my Instagram with. Sorry, not sorry. But I freaking loved this book. It was so good, and I can't believe that, one, I didn't get spoiled. Like, I had no idea what happened in this story for my whole life. I've never seen any of the movies. I've never apparently been friends with anybody who talked about it. It's never been wrecked for me, so it was all new experience, and I loved it. I loved so much about it. Oh my goodness, it was like a perfect book for me, and I was so happy to be reading it. There was one part in the book where it takes a bit of a turn, and I was miffed. I was, at the time when I was reading it, I was so mad. I was mad at Mrs. March. I was like, this is the first time you've given bad advice. This is stupid. I just was so mad. And then I kept reading, and I kind of thought, you know what, I'm not gonna like this book. The ending's gonna ruin it for me. It was a 5-star, and then all of a sudden it just tanked. And then I kept reading, and by the time I got to the end, it was perfect. Everybody ended up where they needed to, with who they needed to, and I loved it. I thought it was so great. I loved the way that it ended up and where everything went. I loved watching the girls grow up and fall in love, and I thought it was so great, and it was so wholesome and sweet. And ooh, there's my dog barking. My husband must be home. I absolutely loved Little Women. I thought it was so fun. Moving on, I did also read An Unwanted Guest this month, which I hated. I can't remember if I gave it 1 or 2 stars, but I didn't like it. I didn't like any of the characters. It felt like a really bad Agatha Christie ripoff. And the plot device behind, like, the motive for why everything happened was so incredibly stupid. Like, I wish I could spoil it for you because I thought it was so stupid, but it was bad. I didn't like it. It was dumb. And the way that they pegged the murders on this particular person was also really far-fetched and felt really, like, pulled out of your butt. And then there was, like, this other, like, morally gray kind of ending where I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. It was something that I wish I could erase from my mind. Liv and I were actually gonna buddy read it, and she quit, and like, she did the right thing because it was so bad. Next, I read A Christmas Carol, and I love this book. I read this for the first time the previous Christmas, and I gave it 4 stars only because it's really wordy. Back in Dickens' time, they wrote and they got paid per word, and I'm pretty sure that's why he's beefed up his writing so much, because some things are just really overwritten. That being said, once I grasped classics over the last 1.5 years or so, or 2 years, I have come to really, really enjoy this. It's a lot easier to absorb. My mind just sort of translates, if you will, the Old English to current, and it just makes a lot more sense now. Anyway, I absolutely love this story. I think the ending is so uplifting and perfect to get into the Christmas spirit. I adored this book. I could see myself reading it every single winter, forever. I just love it, and it's the perfect way, like I said, to get into the Christmas spirit and just get excited for Christmas time. And just watching Scrooge's heart change is so sweet. I loved it. And then the last book that I read in December was Carols and Chaos, and I read this between Christmas and New Year's, and I really, really liked this. I think I gave this 4 stars. Oh yeah, I don't think I mentioned this. The first time I read it, I gave it 4 stars, and then this year I bumped it up to 5 because I just loved it so much. Anywho, getting back into this one. I did give this one, I think, 4 stars. It wasn't perfect. It's a historical romance at the heart, but there's also a mystery aspect. It's a little bit thrilling, things start to get kind of fast-paced near the end. A lot of stuff goes down. This romance between a lady's maid and a valet working for this great house, and it's not like insta-love, I guess, because technically when you meet them, they've already met before. They're just sort of building on their previous interaction, I guess. But it's a really sweet flirtation. It's not, like, doesn't get super hot and heavy. They're not super obsessive, but it's fun, and they get stuck in this, like, adventure together and this mystery together. And I loved watching them. I loved the way it wrapped up. It was so heartwarming and so sweet. It was like what I needed, and I didn't know it. and I blasted my Instagram with this book because it was so pretty, so I'm really glad that I also enjoyed it. I don't like posting books that I haven't read often, because if I don't like them, then I feel like I need to go back and let everyone know that I don't recommend it. But this one I definitely do recommend, so if you're looking for a really, really cute Christmas read that also has a beautiful cover, this one is your jam. My jam? Somebody's jam. I don't know. Anyway, that's all I've got for my December and January wrap-up. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know down below what were your favorite books over the last couple months, your least favorite. You guys know I'm always interested in what you guys think. Are any of these on your radar? Go ahead, drop that down below, and while you're down there, if you haven't subscribed already, please do, and hit the bell so you don't miss future notifications. I do upload most Mondays and Thursdays, and I will talk to you guys all next time. Thanks so much. Bye.